Joe's physique determined his style. He had to get close to an opponent to do any damage. So he had to come straight ahead. He wasn't going to be a fancy finesse kind of fighter.
If he hit you in the kidneys, you'd pass blood for a month. And if he'd hit you in the ribs, you wouldn't breathe right for 6 months.
Joe Frazier would come out smoking. If you hit it, he liked it.
The Philadelphia left hook, it's almost like it's got a brain, it's got desire, it's got hunger, it's got need.
Gets stronger and stronger, and the people are beating him by exhaustion. He keeps ducking and hooking. Finally, he's overcome you. He's knocked you out.
If you want to see a perfect left hook, there is only one man in boxing history that all the others will point you to. Joe Frazier's blessing all came from adapting to his curses. He was born into a life of subsistence farm work. As a child, he was chased by a hog. He slips, falls on a rock, and breaks his left arm. His parents were too poor in America to afford a doctor, so it never quite healed right. Joe Frazier would never straighten his left arm completely again. There was no excuse to get out of chores. Joe's father had an arm amputated the year he was born. As a kid, they had to pull a two-man saw. Since his father only had one hand, Joe had to pull with his crooked left arm. It built it back stronger. After a run-in with a local power structure, Joe has to leave home. He settles with relatives in Philadelphia. Teenage Joe Frazier sets foot in the gym, looking to both protect himself and do some damage. Joe was far from the biggest guy in the gym, but he was the hardest worker. Despite making the team as an alternate, Joe would get his chance to fight in the 1964 Olympics. Frazier breaks his hand in the semis, but still goes on to win his gold medal. Frazier starts fighting his way into contention when he meets Oscar Bonavena.
Mark Kahn, referee. A powerful left hookers, especially to the body.
Frazier got caught early on. He hung a jab and forgot to get low, which isn't a mistake a heavyweight can afford to make without consequences.
Right.
Bonavena follows up with a series of short hooks that puts Joe back on the canvas.
Frazier down again.
So what? Joe Frazier got no excuses.
Half the round is over. Champion in the black trunk. Yep.
His A game was short range.
Joe Frazier in white. Joe Frazier has come back to take charge of the bout.
A cross-arm defense and low crouch underpinned his defense. His attack prioritized the body, since you can't duck under it. He fought like a steam train leaving a station. Every left hook that lands is another shovel of coal in the furnace. By the time that engine comes to speed, the only thing stopping Smokin' Joe was a referee or doctor.
Look at the clock. And there it is, the final bell. of what we consider a very fine fight.
The reason Joe was an Olympic alternate was because of Buster Mathis.
Games in Tokyo. Frazier, the dog trumps. Frazier wants him to mix with him and scores with that left hook. Both boys a little wild, he moves very well for a big man.
It never sat right with him that Buster beat him in the box-off, especially when he saw Big Buster slacking on road work. Mathis felt like Frazier won his gold medal. Mathis came in at a whopping 243 pounds to Frazier's shredded 205. Joe Frazier had another tree to cut.
Here we go, Don. Frazier figures to fight out of a crouch. Mathis, the bigger, is also the... Obviously, neither is afraid of the other.
Buster was a big man with solid skills. But he didn't have a fraction of Frazier's drive and determination.
Catches Frazier unawares. Right trunks.
Buster finally fell in the 11th on a horrific left hook. Outside the venue that night was a picket line of protesters who refused to recognize Joe as champion. Muhammad Ali was stripped of his championship for refusing to be drafted into Vietnam. When they banned the lineal champion for politics, the fight game carried on. The WBA responded to Ali's refusal by organizing a tournament to crown a champion in Ali's absence. 4 state commissions, including New York, opted to recognize the winner of Frazier versus Mathis as their champion. So Frazier sat out the tournament to settle his score with Mathis. The tournament plays out, and the men left standing are Jerry Quarry and Jimmy Ellis. It came down to 15 tactical rounds and 3 razor-thin scorecards. In the end, Jimmy Ellis is crowned the winner and new WBA champion. A post-fight X-ray revealed exactly the type of tough guy Jerry Quarry is. Turns out Jerry had broken his back several weeks before the fight, likely in a friendly wrestling match with his brother. When asked, Jerry reluctantly admitted his broken back, and this is a direct quote, "Probably hampered my movement a little." Quarry recovered and got his shot at Frazier's championship. Quarry and Frazier met in June of 1969. From the outset, it's meant to be a war.
Quarry carrying the fight to Frazier, who is unrelentingly can take a punch better than Frazier. He's got a granite man who can hit like Frazier before.
All Joe Frazier fights were wars. Most of them happened after Frazier's bodywork wore his opponent out over time. Not Jerry Quarry. He fought from the first round like he was making a last stand. It devolved into a savage war of attrition. It got more brutal by the minute as Jerry's face can't hold up to the hooks. The boxing ring grew into a blood-soaked killing floor.
He did it all over again. It was very long indeed. Great courage. And can take a punch as well as anybody. That's a tremendous cut under Quarry.
The fight was called in Jerry's corner after 9 savage rounds. It was also called Fight of the Year of 1969.
Joe Frazier, the winner.
Then Joe got the shot to unify against Jimmy Ellis.
Frazier coming out smoking, as he puts it.
Ellis was from the same city as Ali.
Against Frazier, who's a swarmer.
He was one of Ali's main sparring partners, and both were trained and managed by the great Angelo Dundee. It was a hugely historic reunification of the title, and a mere appetizer for the fight the fans truly anticipated. Frazier came out at full steam, showing no respect. Cross guard, ducking defense,
Before the fight, the button.
and left hook so perfect it even looked good when it missed. It was all Jimmy could do to hang on. Faced with the refined fury of Frazier's short-range salvos, hanging on wasn't an option either.
Rubbery leg, glassy eye. Frazier is in blaze. One good round, great. And left hook. And Ellis is in real trouble. Less than a minute left in round 4. Frazier giving it to him and giving it to him. What's the test? Down the right. Just seconds left. Frazier again with the left. Ellis standing there. Oh, a tremendous left hook.
Ellis was in for a life-altering beating that Angelo Dundee refuses to allow.
This fight may be over. This fight is over. Angelo Dundee called Tony Perez over. It is over. A knockout in the 4th.
Frazier was pushing hard for Ali's reinstatement. He spoke to Richard Nixon about getting Ali back in a ring. He was also helping Ali with his bills while he was banned from boxing. But the time had finally come. Ali had won his case in front of the Supreme Court. It would be called the fight of the century. 2 undefeated heavyweights and the proper unified heavyweight championship on the line. Every press conference was the Muhammad Ali show.
I predict that when I meet Joe Frazier, this will be like a good amateur fighting a real professional. This will be like a kid out of the Olympics meeting the fastest heavyweight champion that ever lived. I just want
You're not fighting Glory, you're not fighting Oscar Bonavena, you're not fighting Sonny Liston, you fighting Joe Frazier.
Everybody knows that's not the point. That's the point.
Y'all watch.
With Frazier playing the increasingly annoyed man, Ali viewed it as trying to promote the fight.
Joe Frazier's a street fighter. He walks in, he slows, he fights wild. He's no skill, but wait until I get Joe Frazier.
Frazier took it seriously and deeply personal. Joe Frazier argued for this man to have his livelihood back. This is how he treats him?
He's not like me. There's 2 types slaves. Joe Frazier's worse than you to me.
Joe wasn't a man given to tolerating disrespect. Besides, the fight needed no promotion. The world already knew. 300 million people tuned in to watch from around the globe. What those people saw was the greatest heavyweight fight of all time.
Muhammad Ali over here in round 1, and he's trying it.
It was a savage style clash between an upright outfighter and a crouching, weaving swarmer full of deep personal animosity. It was a firefight at a frenzied pace. Joe Frazier's respect for Ali as a fighter dwindled by the round. Words flew as freely as fists. Ali asked Frazier, "Don't you know you're in here with God tonight?" Frazier's laconic reply was, "God picked the wrong night." While Ali rifled in his right hands, Frazier got low and came up with counters that only a goat could manage to eat. Round after round, Ali sat trapped on the ropes, waiting for Smokin' Joe to burn himself out.
That's still a good jab.
Every single round, Frazier came out on fire again, talking back and throwing bombs that had Ali holding on.
That one hurt. So did that. Muhammad Ali staggered. Muhammad Ali was rocked. 30 seconds to go in the round. 30 more.
In the final round, Ali goes fishing with an uppercut and winds up with a hook in his cheek. It was an exclamation point on a very clear statement. The night that Smokin' Joe truly caught fire, he was the best heavyweight in the world. A world that included a deeply embarrassed 28-year-old Muhammad Ali. It's the greatest win in boxing history. It was the beginning of a golden era of heavyweight boxing.